Hi, everyone.
Hi, I'm Emily,
And I'm Rebecca.
and welcome to Middle Part Podcast, a podcast where we talk about all the latest in pop culture, music, and fashion, all while reminiscing on our lifelong friendship.
We're back.
We're here. I am very excited and have been very excited for this episode because there's been so much TV, and I'm just really excited to talk about it with you.
There's so much good TV happening right now. Speaking
Yes.
of which, I want to get into what we did this weekend because, well, mine is related to TV. But before
Okay.
I get into that, how was your weekend? What did
I'm
you
like,
do?
yeah, I'm like, mine wasn't at all. Um, so my son had his first swimming lesson.
Oh my God, that is so
It
cute.
was beyond. I mean, I know you're not supposed to say this, but like I have the cutest child,
No, she
except
really
for
does.
except for Logan, Rebecca's son, obviously. But outside of Logan, my child is objectively the cutest child. And Ariel's aunt is here from Israel, and she was like, "Just get used to it, because it's going to be his whole life. Every time he's in a room, he's going to be the most beautiful and smartest." But I mean, what are parents and aunts for if
Right,
not to say that
exactly.
exact thing? But anyway, it was just so cute, and
Did he like
um,
it? Did he like the water?
he loved it. It was during his nap time, so there was one point where he was literally like basically asleep on my chest in the water, and we're like, "Excuse me, sir, please wake up." Like,
Yeah, we're paying for you to learn how to
it,
swim here. You can't
literally,
sleep
like
through this.
exactly. No, I mean, he was very at peace, clearly.
That is so funny. That reminds me the first time we ever took Logan into a swimming pool, he was 3 months old, and he literally fell asleep, like, while we were holding him in the pool. I think it's just very relaxing for them, very soothing.
He was so cute. But anyway, I also tried to take a picture, like not thinking about it. And this woman next to me was like, they have a very strict policy, like no photos, which look, I get because there's other kids there. A lot of them, like, I guess, they're in bathing suits. Like, I think it's probably like
Right, they wanna just make sure that everyone's, like, being
consent.
respectful,
So I
consenting,
get
right.
that. But I don't know. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Put my phone away. And then when I went in the water, because Ariel, my husband, and I switched, we did like half the class. He did it with my son, and then I did it. Um, I saw so many people taking pictures. She just like was like a stickler. So I was
Oh,
like,
that's really
Ariel,
annoying.
so annoying. So anyway, but we got some secret ones.
Okay, good. Make sure that, like, loser lady didn't catch you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, tell me about your weekend.
So, I had both the delight and misfortune of watching Meghan Markle's new Netflix show, With Love, Meghan.
Thank you for doing that for us, because I've obviously seen the clips, like the clip of Mindy Kaling that's
Oh my
gone around.
god.
It's it's been I mean, it's been a joy to watch. Like, she is so I don't even know the word, like,
So,
just delusion I don't even know.
yes. Okay, so first of all, I will say, like, it was so weird and so boring, but I was obsessed and I could not stop watching it. I could
Wow.
not take my eyes off her. It is like the best, most soothing background show to have on. All that
Interesting.
being said, it really was terrible, but also really fun. I can't
Right.
explain it. Like, it was all, I had so many emotions. So, first of all, I feel like I should start off by saying something positive before I go in on this woman. She is so breathtakingly stunning. I
Yeah.
have to, like, I really can't take my eyes off of her. Her hair, her skin,
Yeah.
her clothes, like, she is
Yeah.
stunning. I totally understand why she, like, was an actress and now is, like, in the spotlight like she should be. She's beautiful. Um, but, like, there is just, like, such an undercurrent of uneasiness throughout every episode because I just feel like she feels so uncomfortable.
Mm.
Like, it's very inauthentic. Not that, like, she doesn't love to cook, because I do actually think, like, she has some pretty solid cooking skills and, like, knows her way around the kitchen, but it's just, like, hosting a cooking show is, like, not natural for her,
Right.
and it's just so phony. I feel like she's just not that interesting. She's just like a really basic, boring, pretty woman. The best way I can describe it is that she's like a live, laugh, love
Right.
millennial.
Really, I think that's a really accurate like description.
Even the way she talks, the show opens with her beekeeping with this beekeeper. And she was like, the bees are busy. And then she like looks at the camera and she was like, busy bees. Like she's just like really not funny, like, at all. Like, she has no sense of humor, no comedic timing, and you don't necessarily I know that's not what she's trying to do, but, like, she has to have something, like, she's just really uninteresting.
Totally.
And then I literally I recorded it, because I like, my mouth was on the floor. She was whisking? Wisping,
Whisking.
whisking. She was you could tell I know my way around the kitchen.
And neither of us do.
She's whisking eggs, and then she stops, and she goes, "But first, coffee." And then she, like, turns and starts making, like, an espresso. It's literally a sign in every chuggy millennial's kitchen, like, "But
Right.
first, coffee."
Coffee.
And then she was making, like, a latte, and she was like, "I love you a latte." Like, she just kept talking in Pinterest quotes.
It literally sounds like she's almost like animatronic. Like she's just like made up of Pinterest quotes, and if you forced her to say something of substance, her head would like start steaming.
Yes, exactly. She has different guests come on every episode to cook with her.
It's like, "This is my best friend Mindy." Like Mindy being like, "So where did you grow up?"
Right. No, everyone's her dear friend. My dear friend Mindy. Also, the fact that her and Mindy were making, like, a mock children's birthday party, which is, like, cute. They did, like, a balloon arch.
Mindy doesn't even have kids.
She does. She has 3 kids.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about her. I just know that people want her to date that guy from The Office.
Yes, and
Uh,
people think he's the father of her
and
children.
right, because she's, I guess, not married.
Yeah, no one knows who the dad is of
Okay,
these
so
3
yeah, that's
children.
I didn't know that she had kids because all I know
Yeah.
is that people are always like, "Oh, maybe you're with this guy."
Yeah. So, yeah, she's really private about her kids, but they said that their children are around the same age, and that's how they've become friendly. Um, but it's like they put together this, like, whole birthday party, and then the 2 of them are just, like, sitting at the birthday party with no children there. Like, it was just like, what is this all for? Who is this for? I'm just thinking about this as, like, a business person. There's no digital footprint tied to this whatsoever. There's no website or, like, Instagram
Instagram,
page
yeah.
that, like, you could go and follow the recipes that she's making or, like, follow the flower arrangement
Yeah,
steps that she's making. She's going for, like, a Martha Stewart vibe,
right.
which, like, Martha didn't do any of that, but
Yeah,
it's
but
like, okay, we're
Martha,
in the
that's
new age.
right. Her show was in, like, the 2000s. Like, you bet your ass Martha would be all over that because she is extremely savvy as a businesswoman. So my impression of this is just from examples I've heard. So when they initially signed a deal with Spotify for a podcast, they apparently just, like, didn't record.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just don't think that she's, like, a really hard worker, or who knows? Maybe she was, but I feel like she's getting like, we've all heard the numbers of how much she's getting from Netflix and Spotify to, like, just have this content. So, in her mind, it's like she's not doing this for money. Like, why would she go through the whole thing of, like, having a website and posting on social and, like, selling things and, like, tying her recipes to I don't know, because she doesn't, like, need to. It's like she got, like, a huge check from Netflix to just, like, create this content. She's like, "Here it is."
Right, and she doesn't even care.
Right.
And, like, yeah, and she even said herself, like, when she was, like, at a flower market, she's like, "It's, like, gonna look like a Nancy Meyers movie." She's just crowdsourcing what
Right.
people like, and it has nothing to do with her and who Megan is, and
Because
she has
I
no
don't think
point of view. She's
right.
just, like, so basic and uninteresting. I can't say it enough. But, like, at the same time, I was so entertained because it was just so fascinating.
Is
It re
H in it?
No, and she won't say his name. She just says, "My husband."
Oh
Th
my god.
That was another thing. The show opened up with the beekeeping thing, and then, like, the next scene cuts to her, like, walking into the kitchen, and she's like, "Alright, so I'm gonna show you guys how to make candles." And I'm just like, "Whoa, okay, like, we're just jumping right in." Like, I wish that there was just more of her being like, "So, like, you're probably wondering, like, how I got here," or, like, I don't
Right.
know, just, like, breaking the fourth wall. I don't know why I expected that because they're so private,
Right.
quote, unquote. They don't share anything about themselves in a real way. I just think it would have made it so much better if we knew anything about her. Like, she just doesn't share anything about herself, and whatever she shares is just really generic,
She
and it could
seems
be about
kind of, like,
anyone.
infuriating as a person.
She's pretty insufferable. Like,
Right.
the Mindy Kaling episode was the most telling because Mindy is so funny,
Right.
So charismatic, so dynamic, great conversationalist, and paired with Megan, who is just like talking to paint drying on the wall. That she's like, "Megan, tell me about your Luke." And she's like, "My who?" She's like, "Your Luke." And she's like,
No.
"Huh?" She's like, "Your look, Megan. Your
No.
outfit." And she's like, "Oh, my look, my Luke." Like she had no idea what she was talking about, like
am
sincerely.
deceased.
It was like, and I think they kept it in because it was like, "Oh, this is funny, this is endearing," but it really just showed like how offline she is in a
Right.
really embarrassing way. Like I
Right.
feel like if I said to my mom, "I love your Luke," even she would get it.
Sleigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
Well,
even
because
boomers get that.
you have to be a little fun, like, a little fun to, like, get that. Like, Luke,
Yes.
it's like, do you have to say other things in a funny way occasionally? And, like, for example, with your mom, like, my mom and I, like, kind of have our own little, like, language. So if I say a word that isn't pronounced exactly correctly, she would, like, be able to pick up on it because people who are, like, fun can, like, figure it out, but clearly she's so stale, she, like, can't figure it out.
This is a really great transition into Traitors because you know who's incredible at pronouncing words in unusual and intoxicating ways?
Oh my god, I have no idea.
Gabby Windy.
Ugh,
I feel like I'm obsessed her social media presence is just like a breath of fresh air,
totally.
and, like, I just love how she'll be like, "I have business hours."
Yeah,
Like,
she's
just the way that she'll, like, enunciate and, like, pronounce certain syllables really brings joy to my ears.
yeah, it's funny because it's not the way she speaks could be so cringe and, like, hard to hear, but for some reason, I think it's because she does such a good job of showing how authentic it is. Like, she could probably not speak like that, but it wouldn't be her. She'd have to try to not speak like that. So I feel like everyone just loves it because we're like, "You're just so weird."
It's like your brain just works in such an interesting
Yes,
way.
yes. Like, did you see when she was talking about she's like, "I've asked my dad, like, what happened to me as a child? Was I dropped on my head? Like, why do I speak like this?" And he's like, "Gabby, shut the fuck up."
Yeah. She's just unbelievable. She's so funny. So I feel like this is a good transition for us to get into Traders. We're
Mhm.
gonna recap the last 3 episodes because we fell behind,
Yes. Well, we're
and
not gonna recap. We're gonna talk about some core interesting things that happened in the past couple episodes that, like, led to the reunion. Okay.
okay.
So when we left off with traders, last time we spoke about it, Danielle had just asked Brittany to basically be a trader with her. I have very specific thoughts about this. What do you think? I can go first, but what did you think about this?
I mean, it's just so frustrating. I hate
Yes.
that, like, she didn't wanna work with Carolyn.
Mhm.
It's annoying that she didn't follow the traditional trader format of sticking as a team,
Yes.
and I'm sad that she turned on Carolyn and Carolyn left, and now she's bringing in Brittany, who, like, has previously betrayed her. It's just like, "What are you doing?"
Which we obviously know how that turned out, which I'm
Right.
very happy about. I also just think it was like a stupid decision of Danielle. I think she put Brittany in a really shitty position because she put a huge target on Brittany's back.
Yes. Yeah.
Brittany, either she said yes to being a traitor or she would be killed. But,
Right,
like,
and clearly she
either
didn't
way,
wanna leave the game.
right, she didn't wanna leave the game, but she and Danielle have been so buddy-buddy, and she even said, "If Danielle's a traitor and she chooses me, that would be so dumb."
Right,
And
exactly. It's just she's just like I don't know, like, what her goal was. I feel like she really wanted to, like, come back together with Brittany, and it's great that they, like, reconnected and had a nice friendship, but that doesn't mean that she should be a traitor.
it was also just really giving, like, 6th grade. Like, when you, like, have gotten into a fight with someone and then you make up and you're, like, obsessed with each other and you're like, "Oh my god, you are perfect. Like, I'm so sorry we went through all of that." It's like, do you remember the past? Like, can't you just be an adult and, like, be happy that you made up and be normal friends? Like, why do you have to go to such an extreme now that, like, you are inseparable, like, you are the duo of the castle? It's just, like, it's a really giving, like, 13 years old.
Yeah, that's a really good assessment. I didn't think about it in that context, but it really is, and it just, like just would have been way more satisfying if she was like, "She got me out in Big Brother, and, like, now I'm coming for her."
Yeah, and,
Like,
like,
we could get behind her for that, like a
right.
vengeance arc.
Or even, like, "I'm so happy that Brittany and I get along, but you know what? Like, I forgive, I don't forget, and I'm coming for you." Like, something funny as opposed to being like, Brittany is my girl, she's my soulmate. Like we were meant to make it to the end of this because of what we've been through. It's like, what planet are you living
No, I know, and then I just thought it was so interesting just to jump ahead for a second at the reunion when Brittany was like, "You made it seem like we were, like, lifelong friends, like,
on?"
I
Hmm.
hung out with you for, like, a few hours
No,
during Big
totally.
Brother."
I literally said to Ariel, I'm like, this is so mean, but it's true. Also, another thing we talked about at the reunion was how Danielle like sort of redeemed herself, which I think was good for her, but bad for the reunion. Like I was waiting for like, people to be brawling, especially with Danielle because she was so crazy. But I think she just like handled herself really well.
Yeah, I honestly I didn't know if this was gonna be a hot take, but I really liked Danielle at the reunion.
I wouldn't go that far.
I like that she addressed the NDA rumors. There were, like, rumors that she told Brittany that she was a traitor, and she was like, "I take NDAs really seriously. I would never, like, fuck that up." And then, Brittany was like, "That's true, like, that did not happen. I said I know for 100% fact Danielle is a traitor," and people extrapolated from that, and, like, the
Yes.
rumor mill started running. That I, like, believe, and I'm kinda
I was
glad
gonna
that
say, I'm happy they squashed it. Like it was a very believable, like they just kind of like shut it down and we're like, okay,
yeah, and I'm happy about that was the case because if she did break her NDA, it would just, like, open up a can of worms. I just, like, wanna trust that the game is fair.
totally.
So
I mean, it
I'm
would just,
glad
to your point, it would literally ruin the game. It would just
yeah,
ruin everyone's experience. Like there's no benefit.
right.
And what are you gonna do that for? Like $45,000 that's gonna be taxed at 40%. So you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like to like win more money, it's like, I don't know.
right, exactly. There would just be no point to that, and I remember when I saw that going around the internet, I was disheartened, so that was I'm glad that was squashed. Okay, wait, so I wanna talk about how they killed Tom Sandoval.
Yeah,
That was so funny when he was like, "Overall, I was a pleasure to work with, and I didn't realize I was gonna be good at this, but, like, I was."
totally.
I mean, I know that he didn't do this on purpose, but this was, like, the best thing that he could have done for his public persona,
Yes.
like, just letting everyone laugh at him and
Yes.
let him be, like, a total jester and
Yes.
clown, and because now everyone's like, "You know what? He's just like a lovable" not lovable, I wouldn't go that far, but, like, he's just like a moron. He's just like a dumb guy, and, like, it just felt good that we could all, like, laugh at him together.
Yes.
I think it was healing as a country because 2 years ago,
Absolutely.
we were so enraged with him, and now we're like, we've kinda come
Oh,
on we
oh,
accept him for
Tom.
who "Oh, Tom." Like, we don't forgive him, but we're kind of just like, "Alright, this man is a moron, and he's, like, really funny on my
If
TV screen."
anything, this is gonna sound like not to like not be a feminist here because like love Ariana, always team Ariana. But if anything, it kind of put Ariana in a weird light because it was just like, what were you doing? She is so much smarter than he is. Like, how, I don't want to say, how could you not know that he was cheating? Like, that anyone can be deceived by that. But like, how could you not see that, like, this is not someone
You
to
should
be in a,
be long-term relationship with.
yes, who like you can trust? Like, he's so flimsy and like, just, I
I
mean,
I
yeah.
just, like, imagine because that show, like, exists in such a weird universe where there's so many crazy characters. You have Jax Taylor, Tom and
Mhm.
Katie and their chaotic relationship, Sheena,
Yeah,
Lala. It's like everyone around you is insane, so, like, maybe Tom just seems, like, more normal amongst that cast of
totally.
characters, but then when you pull him into a different setting, hence the Traitors, you're just like all the comments of people who had never seen Vanderpump Rules just being
Yeah.
like, why is he acting like an alien that's imitating a human who's imitating a detective?" Which is, like, such a good assessment.
It's literally exactly who he is. I mean, from the beginning, because Ariel really didn't watch Vanderpump Rules. Like he like knew that he was a cheater, but like didn't really care, like was invested. From the beginning, Ariel's like, I love Tom. Like I don't get why everyone hates Tom because Ariel was like coming at it like from a very not personal kind of like lens and was just like, he's the funniest one.
Right, exactly. If you don't know the background, like, you're like, "This guy's hysterical," and
Right. Like
he's not
he's
trying to be, but,
right,
like, he just is.
exactly. Like he just has the most ridiculous comments.
I loved
Yeah.
Ellen being like, "For once, Tom was a faithful."
Well, yeah.
That was a good one.
It was so good, and I also like, you kind of touched on this, but I also wanna reiterate, I am, like, proud of Tom because I do think this put his career on a pretty good trajectory. Like now he'll be able to stay in that circuit. Like now I think he'll be wanted for more. I mean, he was already wanted it was because people were hoping that he would like bring so much drama because of what how he like blew up Vanderpump Rules. Whereas now I think he'll be like wanted and cast for shows just
Comedic
because
relief.
yeah, he's a good personality to have because he's kind of like all over the place and I don't know, I think I'm like happy for him because yeah, he'll be known for something outside of being this like demon.
Yeah. You know, something that I loved was an interview that Carolyn did where she was asked, like, who were you closest with in the house? And she's like, Tom Sandoval, which is like, everyone was like, wait, what? Like,
Right.
how? And she's like, honestly, like, I just saw him as someone who was trying so hard to be taken seriously, so hard trying to fit in. And I was like, Tom, like, they're not listening to you. It's not getting through to them. Like, you just need to be yourself. And
Yes.
God, I love this woman. Like, first of all, I think that just speaks to her journey of sobriety because I
Mhm.
feel like anyone that can transform their life in that way, like, you have to strip away all your ego and you can just like really see the humanity in anyone. And I feel like at the end of the day, she's like, I just see Tom as like this little insecure boy that's
Mhm.
trying to fit in. And I mean, that makes so much sense.
And it
And
makes
all,
sense with why he cheated
yes, I was going
with
to say, yeah,
Rachel. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, because only insecure people cheat.
Would end with like the new hot cast member, like there was just, she was young, like yeah, I totally agree and how Carolyn it was really interesting, felt like and this is also kind of we touched on this in the show, but also in the reunion, how she felt like she wasn't taken seriously. And
Oh,
to
yeah.
Danielle's point, it was interesting because Gabby had Carolyn's back. I think as a viewer, and maybe you have a different perspective, but from my perspective, it wasn't obvious to me that she wasn't taken seriously. I mean, I wasn't in the show, so I don't know, but for the way they edited it, I didn't think that she wasn't taken seriously, and Danielle was also kind of, like, gaslighting her at the reunion, like, "Of course I respect you, of course people took you seriously," and Gabby and I, like obviously we trust Queen Gabby, Gabby interjected at the reunion and said, "Actually, I don't think she was taken seriously, and I think that that needs to be acknowledged instead of, like, continuing to tell her that she was. She had this experience, and I don't think a lot of the women were taken seriously, and I think Carolyn definitely suffered from that." So that made me think of it I had, like, a different perspective. Um, did you what did you think about that? Did you think that she was taken seriously?
No, yeah, I think, like, she's definitely an odd bird. She has, like, the facial expressions and, like,
Right.
a really interesting, like, way of talking and expressing herself, and I think that and, she just looks really interesting with the big hair and the lips
Totally.
and the
And the tattoos,
tattoos.
yeah.
Right, and people just, like, look at her and, like, put her in a box and just, like, assume that she's one way, but she is, like, very layered and, like,
Yes.
she's very, like, sensitive and smart and, like and kind, and I think that anyone that took the time to get to know her, like Dylan and Gabby
Right,
and even
right.
Boston Rob were like,
Yes.
"Carolyn's the best."
And
Even Tom Sandoval.
yes, and it's funny because I felt that way about her. Like, the whole show, I was like, I actually think Carolyn, like, has a good strategy. Like, I genuinely took her seriously, so maybe it's why I didn't recognize that other people in the show didn't, because I really did like her. I liked everything she said, even though she was weird. I was like, "She's making sense."
Yeah, I know, just because the way she looked as she was speaking was not, like, quote, unquote, "normal."
Totally.
People couldn't look past that, but the content of what she was saying was completely sound.
Yes.
And I love that Gabby had her back, and I love that when Carolyn started crying and she was like, "It hurt," and Gabby, I literally, like, touched her arm and goes, "It's okay."
Oh,
Their
Gabby.
friendship is so beautiful. She was another interview I saw, someone asked Gabby, like, who's her closest friend coming out of the show, and she said, "Carolyn, we text every day."
Oh my god,
And
I
then they
love
were like
her.
and they're like, "Who do you talk to, like, the least?" And she's like, "Danielle, I don't even have her number."
Well, I mean, yeah, they have, like, nothing in common. Danielle is so lame. I had no idea she was a grandma. Sorry, that's not why she's lame, but, like, I just think she's, like, of a very different time.
Yes, for sure. And
Yeah.
it's funny because like, everyone on the show has, like, a million or more followers, and she has, like, 7,000
There
followers.
was well, that's because and she did not do herself any favors on this
No.
show if she wanted to build a public persona. I also saw this graph, I don't remember the numbers of, like, the people on the show whose follower count increased the most and like when in the show it
Mhm.
increased. And Dylan had obviously the biggest increase at the beginning of the show because just look at him and he's like really fun eye candy. Towards the end of the show, Gabby had the most people
Yeah.
follow her. Danielle was the only cast member who had people unfollow.
Oh my God. It's sad. It's sad because, like, I mean, she was really there for the money, like she said at the reunion. Like, I think that she is in this old school era where she doesn't see how, like, social media is a way to, like, earn income.
Yeah,
Like, or
totally.
she gets that she could make money doing it, like, on some level, but she doesn't understand that it's, like, people's full-on careers.
Right, like the money that you win from a show like this is like focusing on that is short-term thinking.
Right.
It's just like
Exactly.
immediate reward, but thinking how you can like play well for the camera and like Wes, actually, I do want to talk about Wes because I always defended Wes because I was a huge fan of him and CT on The Challenge, like growing up watching MTV. And I like loved him. He was just always like one of the best players, like Johnny Bananas, CT, Wes, like those were like
It's like the Mount Rushmore of, like, challenge players.
truly. I was sad when he left so early and so excited he was on the show, but the way he left was like appalling. I and
So
I
bad.
but I still saw through it. I'm like, "No," I'm like, "I really think he's joking." Like, I don't remember him being that much of an asshole. And Ariel was like,
No, he's always been a dick.
"Yeah, maybe when I was young, I just thought he was like cool." But in the reunion, like Ariel even said, he definitely played it as well as he could have. Like his humanity definitely showed through
Mhm.
in the reunion and kind of he was just like, "Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like I've been doing this for 20 plus years. Like I know what makes for good TV. I know." He's like, "I'm a bitter bitch." Like he was like
Yeah,
very
exactly.
self-aware. So it was kind of more how I remembered him. Like I didn't remember him as being like completely unhinged. I remember him being like very rational and strategic, even if that came with him being an asshole.
Yeah, like him just being, "I'm a faithful, fuck you guys."
Right. I mean, it was crazy, but hoped and thought it was an act because I don't remember him being like insane. And then
Right.
the reunion, I felt like that was kind of validated because he was just like, "Yeah, I know what I'm doing, guys. Like I've literally
Been on
been."
TV for 20 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a pro,
Right.
for sure. It's crazy. I think it has been exactly 20 years. I feel like his first challenge or first season of The Real World was 2005, which is crazy.
Also, I feel like you would also appreciate this. It's just like a revelation I had. In that era, it was like the American Pie era of like masculinity where like
Yeah.
cursing and like, oh, that like that bitch is hot, whatever. Like that's like what being a man or like a good reality star show, sorry, that's like what being a man sort of was. Whereas now it's more of like the Dylan era. Like men are a little softer and it's hot to be a feminist and it's just like a different time. And I think Wes is still kind of like a little bit of a relic. But I think that's okay. Like I think he plays it well. Like he's like a macho, like just
That's such a
raw.
good read. Like he's like yeah, I think he's like truly like elder millennial slash maybe borderline Gen X. Like
Yeah.
I'm not changing. I don't go to therapy. I don't
Right.
work on myself. Like
Right.
I'm a man. Like I don't cry. I'm not in touch with my emotions.
And I do remember there were some things going around, like I think Sierra put it out there, or someone said in an interview, Wes is sexist. Wes doesn't like women. And I remember Wes came out and said something like, "That is offensive. I draw the line. I'm not sexist. I respect women." He it's just who he is. It's not about women. You know what I mean? Like he's just like a broy competitor. And
Yeah,
he'll
and
be that way to
yeah.
men or women.
And I feel like even when he's like, "I'm the greatest to ever do it," like they cut to Boston Rob, and he's like, I don't know about that."
Right.
Like he's like offensive to all.
Exactly, and, like, I could see Boston Rob and, like, Derek going up against Wes and, like, having no problem, but, like, someone of, like, the new age being like, "Oh, he's mean." It's like, "No, he's not mean."
Right. No, that's literally why Chriselle voted him out. I remember she was just being like, "I didn't get good vibes from you,
Right,
Wes."
right. I think she was the one actually who said that he was sexist,
Yeah, I think so.
and he
She
was
had a
just
problem
like
with him.
yeah, and he was like and also he has a daughter, like, I remember he's just like,
He
"That's
shut
not
that down.
cool, like, not a sexist, don't come for me like that."
Yeah. I mean, yes, I definitely think they're just from like way different eras of reality TV.
Yeah.
Um,
And how she just, like, turned it around.
okay, wait, so going back to Gabby for a second, I just, like, was obsessed with how she handled herself when Brittany and Danielle were trying to come for her because their whole goal was, "We're gonna kill Tom, but then we have to get Gabby banished."
Mhm.
And I feel like at that point in the game, Gabby was so locked in, she's like, "I know for 100% fact that Danielle is a traitor." And she was able I think she was able to sway
Yes, everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
They came into that round table, Gabby knowing that people were gonna be after her, everyone else thinking they were probably gonna go vote for Gabby, and somehow not a single person
Voted for
voted
her,
for Gabby. It was between Ivar and Danielle.
which oh my god, I mean, we have to talk about Dolores for a second. She kills me.
Horrible.
The way she votes, the fact that she would kept voting for Tom every episode just because she didn't like him, I'm like, "You are throwing away votes, Dolores, like,
Right.
get your head in the game."
And someone I think at the reunion said, like,
It was
um
Andy.
what did
And
he say?
Andy was like, "Dolores, you voted wrong 8 out of 11 times."
Totally.
That
No,
was so
but
funny.
also someone was like, Tom clearly didn't think I was actually a traitor, he just didn't like me, so he kept voting me, I kept voting him, and Tom's like, "But I did think you were a traitor."
Yeah, no, yeah, they cut back to the room, and Brittany was like, "Didn't you think she was a traitor?" He's like, "100%."
Yeah,
And
which
I
we
believe
know
that.
of course.
But
He
I
didn't
think
hate anyone, all he just again, like, he just wanted to be liked, like, he would have been friends with anyone who wanted to be friends with him.
right, he just
Um,
wanted to be taken seriously so
yeah,
badly, and I feel like he was just like, "I'm gonna be the one to catch Dolores. Like, she's flying under the radar, but she's a traitor." Like, I feel
right.
like he was trying to have that moment.
Right, and he got really confident because he kind of did that with Boston Rob, which was a huge takedown. Like,
It
he led
was.
that charge.
Yeah, he did. But he did, like, get Ivar and Sam, like, aligned with him, because I think if he didn't, then everyone would be like, "Shut up, Tom."
Totally.
Oh my god, that also reminds me, I saw an interview that Alan did, the round table where they voted out West and not Boston Rob when there was all this evidence, like, clearly against Boston Rob. He had, like, an earpiece in, and the producers were like, "Alan, Alan, your face," because apparently he, like, rolled his eyes so hard and was like, "Are you guys fucking kidding?" Like, he, like, could not believe that, again, Boston Rob was not getting voted off.
That's hysterical.
He was like,
Um,
I guess I couldn't, like, hide it."
I mean, there were so many things that he did where, like, they just, like, cut to Alan. Remember the baby doll singing episode with Tom Sandoval and Alan
Alan crying, laughing in the
in the
background,
background?
and he goes, "I
Oh,
think that was vibrato."
yeah.
Oh my god. That I mean, this season of Traitors was just unbelievable. And so at the end, so speaking of that round table where Dolores voted for Ivar, it was a tie, so they had to go back around again. And Brittany thinks that Dolores changed her vote from Ivar to Danielle. So by the time it comes back around to Brittany, she has to reveal who she voted for. She's like shitting her pants. And then
Yeah.
it's the big reveal that she voted for Danielle.
Don't know that I believe what Brittany was saying. That
The way they edited
correct.
it
The way
made
they
sense.
the way they edited it, but I don't know. I think Brittany's a little slimy.
Yeah, I think so too.
I also
I
thought she was horrible. She did not get one traitor the whole game. She was,
right.
like, sure I mean, I don't she was, like, defending Boston Rob with her life.
Yeah. She was wrong every single time.
Yeah.
And she was so bad that Derek thought she was a traitor.
Yes. Derek, I do wanna say, I think he is there was one thing he said at the reunion at the very end that really
I know
bothered
what you're
me.
gonna say.
Yes, and I have to acknowledge that he did not mean it. Once again, I think he's from a different like, from a different time where I think he thought he was being kind when he said it, but it was funny, they just, like, cut him out. Like, he said it, and then right after, Andy Cohen was like, "Alright, well, thanks everyone for coming."
Right. He was like,
But
"No, no, no, shh."
exactly, at the very end, so Gabby had said something, I don't remember what it was, and right after Gabby said that, Derek was like, "Gabby, I actually thought you were really great this whole game." Something like that, and it was very misogynistic, it was internalized misogyny, like, he didn't mean it in any type of way. I think he genuinely respected her game. But if she were a guy, like it would be like just saying to Dylan, Dylan, I actually thought you were really smart this whole game. But like no one would say that because Dylan's an attractive man.
It was
So
a textbook microaggression.
textbook microaggression, exactly. Um, yeah, obviously she won the fucking game. What do you mean? You were actually really good the whole game. Like
Yeah,
she
it's just
literally
like,
won.
guys, Legally Blonde came out over 20 years ago. Women can be hot and smart.
Exactly.
And just because
Exactly.
they talk like in a peppy or interesting way doesn't mean they're not smart.
Gabby and I said from the beginning, every single confessional that Gabby had, she was on point.
Yeah,
Every
she was
single
on to,
one.
I think she was one of the first people on to Danielle. Like, I heard her voice coming from the bookshelf.
I also want to talk about Sam for a minute because he went from someone who I thought like couldn't be more boring or have less to contribute to now he's first of all, I'm really happy Andy Cohen brought up on the reunion that brilliant take of a traitor wouldn't know what Alan was wearing. He would like use that to try and get a traitor. And then obviously Tom ruined it, but that was like very smart thinking. He's also kind of been doing the podcast circuit.
Yes, I've been seeing
Um,
this.
and he talks about, and he actually talked about this in the Traitors as well in one of like the confessionals, but he's a refugee from Iran and he
Yes.
literally left Iran um, because women don't have rights. And he said that he has sisters and he
Three
literally,
sisters.
how many?
Three.
Three sisters. And I mean, who knew this man had so much depth, so much worldly experience, has been through so much. Like, I don't care if you're rich or poor, whatever, fleeing a country because women don't have rights and having to come to another country and start over. I mean,
Yeah, and I just liked his background of being like, people think I'm quiet. It's because like I came to this country when I was 13. I couldn't speak English, so I had to listen to learn. And like that's what I'm doing. Like I'm listening because like when he spoke, it was so intentional and
yes,
so like on like when he did finally like lock in and start talking and leading things, I'm like, fire, points,
yes,
Sam. Like
yes, yes,
that was genius when he was like, what was Alan wearing?
yes.
And like really if Tom didn't screw that whole thing up, like I think they really would have gotten Carolyn exactly in that moment.
Like he's kind of someone, if I had to choose, like obviously except Gab, like, with the exception of Gabby, but even maybe with Gabby in the mix, if I could like choose to go to dinner with someone, I honestly might go to dinner with Sam because I just have so many questions for him.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like he'd be a great like dinner conversationalist.
right, like obviously Dylan would be hot, Gabby would be really funny, but Sam like has this really interesting background. He was married to Britney Spears. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I just like, I don't know. I'm a huge fan right now. Huge fan.
He also has 2 million Instagram followers, and I know that mostly comes from being married to Britney Spears previously, but, like, that's, like, holy shit, like, you have a
Totally.
a platform.
Yes.
I'm here for his moment. I really liked him. He seems really sweet.
I hope we get more
Yeah.
from him.
On the note of, like, dinner, did you see that Boston Rob and Sierra, like, went out for veal parm? I thought that
Yes.
was funny.
I thought that was funny. I also loved that Sierra at the reunion called out what everyone was thinking about all the clips of Boston Rob from when he was on Survivor going around, and she was like, "You were fucking hot." I
And
think
then
that's like
Bob the drag queen was like, "You were hot? I would not take that disrespect."
yeah,
That was funny.
it
But
was. I think that's the most substantive thing she's ever said. Like she actually contributed something to the conversation.
good job, Sierra. You did
Yeah.
it. We knew you could do it, girl,
Yeah.
after being on TV for 6 years. Just like there were so many funny moments at the reunion. First of all, Lion.
I mean, she is weird. I don't watch Real Housewives of Dubai, but I
I
have
think it's
no
canceled now.
I mean, she is a weirdo and like so delusional. I never thought she was funny. I don't know why she thinks she's so funny. I thought she
She's
was
like, "Raise
very
your hand if I made you laugh."
yeah, like
Like
what?
that was funny.
Yeah, right. No, right.
Like she's like a Tom Sandoval in that she's such a character.
Yes. But I
And
just something about her like I didn't enjoy her. Like Tom I enjoyed. I just like didn't enjoy her presence. I also thought it was just so weird in the reunion when she's like, Bob the drag queen voted me off because he was intimidated by how funny I was.
right, you didn't want me there because like you wanted to be the funniest.
I'm like, you're not funny. Who thought
Right.
she was funny?
Right, exactly. Although it is hysterical that she thought that survivors were people that survived something and not contestants on the game show, on the reality TV show Survivors.
It is, but it's like, is like being stupid is funny, I guess.
Right. And we have Tom Sandoval for that.
Right, exactly. It just wasn't my she wasn't my cup of tea. I also don't have a history with her. Like Tom Sandoval, I obviously have a history with. So everything he said was funnier because of the context. Whereas like this random woman, I was just like, I don't know, I wasn't into
Right.
it.
I do love that her and Wells have like a really close friendship,
I
question
was
mark?
like, no, I'm sorry. I was weirded out by that. How else was like, who's the person you talked to? First of all, I didn't even Ariel was like, I don't remember this person.
About Wells?
Yeah, and I
Well,
I think he was voted out
he was
first.
voted out first, yeah.
Um Which makes so much sense because he literally looks like just so vanilla to me, like just someone who just like
He's an
again
easy target.
right, would be voted off and like no one would remember he was there, which is what happened. But yeah, when he's like Ion, was that her name? What's her name?
Ion, yeah.
Ion is my best friend. Like we text every day, multiple times a day. I
And
was
then
like,
she starts like tearing up and she's like, "You are my best friend."
it's
It's like,
weird.
what is going on here? And aren't you married to Sarah Hyland Wells?
No,
Like, she's okay with this?
exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, this is like these are both, I think, married people,
I don't think
right?
Ion is married. I'm
Okay.
not sure. But
Very strange.
regardless, very strange.
Yeah.
Um, I loved like Dorinda and Bob the drag queen. I feel okay, so you don't have like a history with Dorinda,
No,
right?
but she was fucking nuts. I thought Bob the Drag King was making sense. They got into a fight, and Dorinda was like, "Why would you say you don't even know who I am?" And he's like, "I didn't say it in a mean way. I was just saying that there was no ill will when I voted you off. It wasn't personal. I just had to choose someone, and I just happened to choose you." And she was like, "Well, I don't know who you are." And he's like, "That's fine."
Right, he's like, "I did it to Wells too. I didn't know Wells. I just threw his name out there."
Right. And she's like, "Well, we don't know who you are." And she's like, and he's like, "What are you talking about?"
It is so classic Dorinda though. Like, so she's from Real Housewives of New York, and like she is just like just truly off her rocker, like so unstable. Like she always goes after people. Like I think she was just mad that she got voted off first, and she
Totally.
it's a classic. It's just classic Dorinda. I can't explain it. She's just truly nuts, and she's an alcoholic.
I mean, that adds up. That adds up.
Um, Another thing I loved at the reunion, I know we're jumping around, but I loved that they addressed the whole like Danielle swore on her grandchildren. And she
Mhm.
just up front was like, "Yeah, you bet your ass I did that." And she's like, "I did that because Dolores was questioning
Mhm.
me. And I could tell like Dolores is someone who like can see right through people," which I don't know if that's so true, but
Right.
she was
She
just
saw through
like,
literally no one.
right. But she was like, I could just see her like looking like literally to the back of my skull, like grilling me. And I knew that she's like Italian and like a family woman. So the one thing that's going to get through to her is like talking about my family. So I said, I swear on my grandchildren, I'm not a traitor. Put in that context, I don't think it's so bad. Like, I feel like everyone was saying, like, Danielle is such a despicable person. Like, who does that? And, like, also the fact that she said, I was here for the money. I would have said anything to get that money. Like, clearly she just, like, needs money. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
but I
didn't think it
think
was that big of a deal.
I agree. I think it was just in the context of everything else. People were just she just played the game so hard. Like not
Mhm.
even that well, although that brings us back to Robin's point about how she maybe played it the best because she's the traitor who lasted the longest in the game. But that aside, like everything she did just gave desperate. Like, it was just,
Mhm.
like which, to your point, if you are there to win the money, then there's, I guess, nothing wrong with that, like, good for her, but I think it just turns people off when people are there to, like, have the experience, make friends, like, play well, but, like, have some likable attributes,
Yeah.
and she was just doing things left and right that were, like, very weird, as if
And
it
the
was, like,
crying and the shaking. I know.
"I
It
told
just
you I was ready to fight."
I was ready to fight. I told you. Oh my god. And the hat looking like ET.
Oh my god. And then one other thing I wanted to talk about is I really appreciated that they addressed Boston Rob getting out Bob the drag queen based on that very offhanded comment that Bob the drag queen made because watching it back, it seems like Boston Rob saw what Bob the Drag Queen said the way all the audience saw it,
Mhm.
which was once again like he said that like just so like, oh, I guess Boston Rob's like really freaking out, but like maybe we missed something because I remember that's how I felt. I was like, that was not an attack. He
It
was just
really
like
wasn't.
he was just like talking. He was like distracting. He was like, look over here, like look. He wasn't like, but Boston Rob heard it and it freaked him out. And I appreciated that he was just like, "Yeah, I probably didn't have to go at you that hard." Like, upon, like, seeing it in the context, like, you really didn't mean it like that.
And everyone there was like, "I didn't even hear him say that."
Right, and Bob was like, "I didn't even know I said that." Like, so
It's
I
really and that changed the trajectory of the entire game, because
yes,
then after that, all the traitors were going after each other.
right, right. And I also love speaking of Boston Rob. I mean, yeah, I love that the Boston Rob Dylan friendship. And one specific point was how Dylan was just like, you can see like how when you watch Boston Rob on these shows, he takes one rookie, like one like nice rookie and just takes him to the end and then cuts him. He was like, I was ready to do that with Boston Rob.
He's like, "I signed up for that. I knew it
Yeah,
was
he's like, I
coming."
was ready to go with Boston Rob to the end and then be cut.
I'm so happy for Dylan, though. I'm so happy he won. I think it's, like, a little annoying that Ivar and Dolores won because, like, they just, like, were coasting by the whole
A
game
hundred
and, like,
percent.
had no strategy, but I'm really happy for Dylan and Gabby.
Me too.
I'm so happy for Gabby that her and Robbie got married.
Oh my God.
And
Yes. And
I had the chills when Alan was like, "What would you do for this money?" She was like, "I'm getting emotional, but, like, it would mean, like, I could marry my girlfriend."
I mean, and
Now they're married.
it seems like I will this is speculation, but I don't think they used the money to get married. I think like my suspicion from it is they probably wanted a big wedding, so they wanted this money, but they actually got married in Vegas right after the LA fires.
Yes.
So I bet that they maybe were gonna do a big wedding, and then they were just like, "You know what? Let's just, like, get married." Um, and it was funny because Gabby actually referenced Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey because Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey had broken up. Nick Lachey went to the airport, and he was at the airport for 9/11, and Jessica called him, and I have not thought about this story, I think, since
Oh my god.
2001.
You're literally unlocking, like, such a deep memory for me right now.
Yes, well, thank you, Gabby Windy, because she unlocked it for me. So Jessica Simpson called Nick Lachey and she's like, after 9/11, so emotional. And she's like, I love you. You're all that matters. Like, I don't want to lose you. They get back together and they get married. And then Newlyweds is born. So Gabby Windy, bless her heart, brought up this story because she was like, that was kind of what my wedding was giving to Robbie because it was after the LA fires, obviously sans breakup. It was after the LA fires, and they're like, you're all that matters to me. Like, we don't need a big wedding. Like, let's just get married. So even though she did win that money, I would suspect that she didn't use it the way that they got married.
Yeah, I know. That's probably true. I think, it was kind of like a chapel shotgun wedding. I think
Right.
they said the whole thing cost them, like, $800. So,
Okay. So then
obviously, like
definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
they definitely didn't use it for that, but, like, they could use it for their lives to, like, put a down
Totally.
payment towards a home. Who knows?
Totally. I'm
No,
obsessed with them. I
I'm
want a
obsessed with
reality
them.
show with them, but I feel like they'd be too smart to do it because I feel
Right.
like the reality show curse, but we'll see.
It's so funny. So Dave Portnoy slid into Gabby's DMs saying, "I hear you're the next big thing." And she took a screenshot and just wrote, "Who is this Diva Cup?" Which is literally the best response to Dave Portnoy, like the most man of all man sliding into your DMs. Do you
I
know who Dave
am
Portnoy is?
of no, I
Okay.
just more didn't know what a diva cup was.
It's well, like, you know how people say, like, "Who's this diva?"
Yes,
I feel
yes.
like I think her take on it is, "Who's this Diva Cup?" A Diva
I
Cup
mean,
is
no.
a form of, like a tampon.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
a cup
Okay.
that collects your period blood, I believe.
I I gathered all of that, but that might have been why my face was a little weird because I was just like trying to piece everything together, but it is hysterical. And I do hope she gets a big bar stool.
Well, apparently, Zach told me that Dave underestimated what a star she is. I don't think he can afford her at this point. So I think that she's on to bigger and better things than Barstool. I also don't think Barstool is, like, the right
Not
fit for
right.
her.
It's not right for her. She should,
So,
yeah. I hope
you
she
know
gets
what
a deal with Spotify.
this is a good transition to Summer House, but like maybe Giggly Squad will expand to be a podcast network because I could see Gabby like being a podcast on the Giggly Squad network. I think that's a really good like
Is a
synergy
totally. I think that's a really good take.
because Hannah and Paige are like really, they're so like anti men, and so is Gabby. So I think it's a great alignment.
It's
So I would like to see this manifest in real life.
me too. I hope it happens.
On that note, we should jump into Summer House. But before we do, did you see the backlash that Hannah got from the Oscars?
I didn't see the backlash. I saw her respond to the backlash.
Yeah. So essentially, Hannah and Paige were interviewing people for the Oscars red carpet with Vanity Fair, and they were interviewing Megan the Stallion. And Hannah was like talking about how much she loves Megan's music, and she was like, "It makes me want to like go out and fight someone." And obviously, that's pretty like offensive to say to a black woman, even though she didn't realize what she was saying was
Yeah.
offensive. Um,
How
I
did Megan the Stallion respond?
I think that she was just, like, pretty straight-faced. I don't think that she, like, had a response. I think they kinda just moved past it and, like, talked about something else. I don't think Megan has, like, said anything about it, so I
I
don't
doubt
know.
Megan cares.
Yeah, I think she's just like, "I don't even know who this girl is," like, whatever.
Yeah. I don't
Also
know. I don't
yeah,
know. I'm, like, over it. Like, I clearly, that's not how she meant it. I think Megan does have a lot of really good pump up music, Megan the Stallion. Like,
mhm. No, obviously, she didn't mean it. I think her apology was really solid,
totally.
and I don't think she deserves to be, like, canceled. I don't think she is. I think
She's
it's just like
definitely not canceled. I think people are exhausted of canceling people. Like,
yeah.
not everyone can be perfect 24/7. She didn't realize what she was saying. Then she realized that, like, it could be a microaggression. And she was like, that was my bad.
Was
Okay,
like, "I wished
great.
I used any other word," and, like, "I'm so sorry to Megan, and, like, thank you for, like, letting me know that this is what
It wasn't
happened,"
a,
you know?
totally. Yeah. Again, like, we should be able to, like, criticize, give people, like, helpful criticisms or constructive criticisms and not, like, decide that they're bad racist people.
100%. Nuance.
Nuance
Also,
here at the
I
pod.
but it just goes to show, I think that, like, they're so big now that, like, I think they just need to be a little more media trained.
Right. I
Like,
totally
they're not, like,
agree.
red carpet interviewers. They're not, like, Juliana Rancic. Like,
Right.
they're just
Yeah.
being, like, like, silly girls, which is
Yes.
their brand, and it's great, but I think there is, like, a level of, like, okay, this is, like, what's politically correct and, like, what's not.
Totally.
Just, like, I think they are just gonna have to be a little more polished, but I hope that doesn't take away from, like, their banter.
Yeah, I mean, Hannah's a comedian, and comedians say things that are, like, not the most PC some of the time, and sometimes it
Yeah,
works for them, and sometimes they're like, that was too far." So I think to your point, if she's gonna be interviewing people, that's, like, not a time for a certain type of comedy.
for sure. Yeah. So, on that note, I think this is very relevant and ties into this most recent episode of Summer House and the whole downfall or almost downfall of Paige, Kyle, and Amanda.
Yes.
I mean, I've thought about for years how crazy it is that Paige is able to maintain this friendship with Amanda and with Hannah when the two of them had such a bad falling out and the three of them were such close friends.
Mhm.
Um, I like to think that there's a ton of like offline conversation where Paige is like, listen, like Summer House is my main source of income and like I need this show. And Hannah understands and respects that. And because it's Paige's job, like she has to be good with Amanda.
Totally.
And she can't like just cut ties with Amanda because and I think we've talked about this in a previous episode. Do you think that this makes Paige like a good friend or do you think that like she needs to pick a side like Kyle said?
Okay, so I literally took notes on this. So I think there's two ways to look at this, which is basically what you just outlined. One is that Paige is an adult and she's mature, being able to stay Switzerland and be a good friend to both Amanda and Hannah. On the flip side, as Taylor says, or I think a lot of people have said this, a friend to all is a friend to none. And like, whose side are you taking? As an adult, as someone who's like matured past a lot of these kind of like, I don't know, these types of dynamics, I tend to believe that she is mature. I don't think you should have to take sides. But even if you agree with the second, with even if you agree that a but even if you agree that a friend to all is a friend to none and she should have to take a side, why does Kyle care? That would be Amanda. Amanda would be the one who would say, "You need to have my back." Or Hannah would be the one to say, "You would need to have my back." The fact that Amanda is okay with the dynamic, Hannah is okay with the dynamic, Paige is doing her best to maintain, you know, just peace with everyone and be the best friend she can. Why is Kyle fucking everything up? It's just so not his place.
I know, and it's just so typical Kyle to, like, make everything about him,
Yeah,
and I
I
feel
mean,
like I think it's, like, just speaks to more, like, Kyle and Amanda's dysfunction.
100%.
The fact, like, when he was calling Paige out at that table and Amanda was, like, sinking down in her chair,
Yes.
like, how uncomfortable she was and how, like, physically in pain she looked, like, I she doesn't Kyle doesn't think about how rage texting Paige is gonna impact Amanda.
Yes. Totally.
He's very impulsive.
He's very impulsive and he's also codependent
Yes.
because why do you think people who are your friends owe you things? Like, why do you think, and not even, why do you think Craig owes you? Clearly, Craig didn't want to invest in Loverboy. Yeah, sure, he said, like, maybe he said, okay, I'll let you counter pitch, whatever. But read the room, Kyle. He invested in a different beverage company. Like,
Because he doesn't wanna be tied to you.
that's okay. Even if he doesn't, even if he did, but he's like, you know what? Loverboy is great, but like, this business model is better. Like, that's okay. Not everyone who's known you, who's ever said hello to you, means that they're going to invest in your company or not invest at all. Maybe there are other companies they want to invest in. And same with Paige. Why do you think Paige owes you anything to like defend you to the grave if her business partner says something? Like it's just he's so codependent that and it is his ego that he thinks that Paige and everyone owes him things.
Yeah, 100%. Like, he's just like a big baby
Yeah.
man-child, and he always, like, storms out, and he's like, "I'm leaving. I'm leaving." He says it every time.
But I do think he genuinely gets overwhelmed and, like, doesn't know how to handle the situations. Like, I don't think he's saying that for dramatic effect. I think he really does kind of lash out at people and then feels really small and embarrassed.
Yeah, I think so, and then but he, like, doesn't help himself, like, Amanda leaves and is literally hiding in the bathroom, and he goes to find her, and I'm, like, hoping that they could be like, "All right, that was a lot," and they could, like, calm down, but he, like, continues to, like, rant at her when she's overwhelmed too. I think that, like, it's hard because neither one of them, like, can be, like, the stable, secure one to, like, bring them back down to reality. Like,
I
they're
think
both
Amanda is. I actually thought what Amanda said, I wrote this when she said, "You don't need everyone to see where you're coming from all the time." I was like,
oh, yeah.
"That's
That was
so,
giving therapy. I'm like, "Ooh, that was a good one." You definitely
so
learned that in therapy.
yes, like, so wise that she can, like, take a step back. And even when she would say, like, I am with you with how hurt you've been, I like understand you. It doesn't mean that you get to act like this. Like, I think everything she said was trying to center them, but she said, even in the show, in the episode, she said, once Kyle's in this state, there's nothing I can say. Like,
Yeah.
he's just spiraling.
Right, exactly. Um, and then, like, I did feel kinda bad for Kyle, though, the next morning when they're waking up and he was just like, I didn't sleep all night, I was really anxious," and she's just like, "Go to the gym, like, go talk to Carl about
Hmm.
it." Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I get it, she has a right to be angry and, like, maybe she just, like, wasn't ready to talk about it, but I just feel like I don't know, I just felt like that was, like, really harsh.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like the amount of time she's probably been through this, she's just like exhausted.
She's exhausted. They're just it's just crazy when I saw a clip of the fight they got into when Kyle says, "Summer should be fun. Amanda, not fun." Like,
Yeah.
I forgot how bad that fight is and, like, the things that he says, like, that is, like, funny, and I feel like that clip has been, like, immortalized, but, like, it's actually a really dark moment in their
Yes.
relationship, and the fight that they're having, I was just like, "How did these 2 people get married?"
It's crazy.
Yeah. Um I thought it was sweet when Amanda comes into the room and her and Paige hug, and she was like, "I don't ever wanna fight with you." Like, that was such a girlhood moment. Like,
Definitely.
you really see how much Amanda and Paige care about each other
Yes. And
and
how much
how
it affects Paige that she has to navigate these her two best friends who don't like each other or speak.
yeah, and I feel like, Summer House has done their best to really, like, erase Hannah and try to, like, make it like she was never there, and I feel like the producers are probably like, "Oh, shit, we fired her, and now she's, like, this huge star,"
Yeah.
and, like, they're probably like, "We don't wanna give her any airtime." So, like, Paige Paige even said, like, "It's crazy, Giggly Squad is, like, the
Yes.
biggest part of my life, and for 2 months out of the year, I can't talk about it at all."
I thought that was so like such an important comment. I like that like really struck me.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, she is so supportive, like, she drinks Loverboy, she, like, shows up to all of Kyle and Amanda's events, and, like, he doesn't do anything for her, like, it really is like he feels entitled to have everyone's undying
Yeah,
loyalty, but he doesn't, like, return the favor to anyone,
totally.
and she calls him out on that. Okay, let's talk about the gender reveal.
Yes.
Absolutely batshit crazy that Lindsay's ex-fiance is at this gender reveal and not her baby daddy and fiance. Or
I mean,
boyfriend, not fiance.
I have nothing to say about the baby daddy slash boyfriend because I just think, first of all, we know that their relationship's on the rocks because there were rumors that they had broken up. I don't know if and or when we'll know that, but least surprising thing ever. But back to the Carl of it all, I just think Lindsay is the worst of the worst. Like, I really do. I think she's so disrespectful. And Danielle, it was funny because Danielle in one of the confessionals was like, is it possible Lindsay's trying to rub it in Carl's face? I don't think so. I think Lindsay literally is so detached. I don't think she cares about Carl at all. Like, I
No,
don't
she
think it
doesn't.
phases her that he's there. I think she'd be acting this exact same way if he wasn't there. This is not about her caring or getting even. She literally doesn't care, which is even worse. Carl is normal. Carl was like, this woman was my best friend for 10 years. Then we dated, then we got engaged. I'm not still into her. Like everything's okay, but like of course I care about her and of course I want the best for her and of course I'm trying to navigate this in like a way that respects like makes everything okay, make people in the house comfortable. She's just like, I mean, he just really doesn't mean anything to me. And like it's just does she think that having a soul like makes her weak? Like I don't understand.
Right, exactly. Like, I just think, like, she is so, um I don't know what the word is, but, like, she's just not, like, a human who, like, has, like, regulated emotions
No.
at all.
No.
And I still think that she's, like, in her, like, "This is my redemption era." Like, in her mind, she's just like, "This is me, like, I got left at the altar, and now I'm getting my fairy tale ending, and, like,
It's
I'm pregnant," and but no one sees it that way except for her and
no.
maybe Gabby.
Um oh my god, wait, why wasn't Gabby on this episode?
I don't know, I get sometimes they're, like they have, like, certain weekends where they're, like, away, but, like, again, speaks to the point that I think I didn't even realize Gabby wasn't there until the end because she's just Lindsay's henchman. Like, she serves no purpose in this house other than to just pump Lindsay up
I didn't literally know that she wasn't there until you just said that. First of all, Danielle, I think even worse than Lindsay, I think Danielle is my least favorite character
by
ever.
far. It's
She's
been
just
so pleasant without her.
she just makes but just her role in all of it, it makes my skin crawl. Like it's just I don't know, when I see people like who are such followers who have no identity outside of a friend that they have, like it's just the antithesis of like everything that I am as a person. That sounds like very pick me, but it's really genuine. I just cannot relate. I don't know. It's just oh, like what do you contribute?
She is just so annoying.
Yes,
Like, I just don't know how else to describe her as just, like, a very annoying person. I'm so glad that she's not on the show this
same.
season. It's, like, noticeably better without her. We just have such a good cast right now, such good energy with everyone because I feel like everyone's genuinely friends. Paige and Amanda and Sierra fucking hate Danielle, and it's,
Yeah,
like, just better and
obviously.
they don't like Lindsay either, but they understand Lindsay's purpose. Like, Danielle serves
Right.
no purpose.
Right. Um I speaking of Danielle being a loser, I definitely think she wanted to get with Imral.
Oh my god, 100%.
And then when they went out, he just like brought someone back. She was like not even on his radar as a person to get with. And I mean, Danielle would get with anyone. Like I feel like I'm surprised she didn't get with the chef.
No, literally. Remember she was getting with the balloon guy last summer? Anyone that, like, looks her direction.
Yes. It's really sad, which is also sad because her boyfriend from 2 summers ago, or I actually thought
Yeah,
he was great. I thought they were like endgame. I'm like, he's so normal. He brings her down to earth. This gives her like, I don't know, like a life outside of Lindsay. So it is sad that that didn't like
I know.
that didn't like make her into like a full person. It's like that kind of fell apart and now she's back to being just like sad and
Yeah,
desperate.
totally. I know if she wasn't on reality TV, maybe they could have been together. What was his name? Robert?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Like,
I also want to point out because you were always the person to say Amanda has like the best style, and I loved her outfit at the gender reveal or
what was
like the
she
gender reveal
wearing? I
dinner.
don't
She was
remember.
wearing literally a white baby tee and a low rise, long, like not pencil skirt, but like a maxi skirt,
Oh,
but like just a plain pink skirt. What I mean, obviously Paige is like the fashion girly, but Paige always looks a little too like I mean, this is just again
Chrissy?
prissy. I mean, I did love her outfit, but just a little too stylized.
Mhm.
And that's just like not my style. She looks amazing. Her wardrobe's amazing. But Amanda, like, I literally want her wardrobe because everything she wears, like, I would wear. Whereas Paige, I'd be like, where the fuck am I wearing this?
Yes. Paige always looks like she's going out for, like, high tea,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Amanda looks like she could, like, walk the streets of Soho and, like, be
Totally.
snapped by, like, the paparazzis.
Yes.
I know I actually kind of feel like I dress like Paige and you dress like Amanda.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to because you're always like, Amanda has the best style.
Well, I
And
think that well, I feel like I just, like, admire Amanda's style because it's so different from my own, and
yes.
I acknowledge, like, how cool she looks, but, like, I don't dress like that, I dress like Paige.
Right. No, and I wasn't this is like almost over. I wasn't saying that because I didn't want to say I had better style. I just know that you said how much you love Amanda's style, so I didn't want to be like, that's my style. But I really do agree that the way she dresses, how it's very like effortless and she just like pulls it together, like with like the baby tee and the long skirt, like it's just very like casual. Whereas
Mhm.
your, I think it is effortless, like but it's not as casual. It's just it's more stylized.
Right, exactly. I like that they're both in style, but so different from each
Yes.
other.
Yes.
Um, we digress.
We digress.
So,
Now that we're, like, complimenting each other how I'm Amanda and you're Paige.
yes, we really are, I love that for us.
Me too.
Um, okay, um, Lexi and Jesse update.
Okay, so I just wanna say there are things that you call and I'm like, "You totally called it." I called from the beginning, from the first episode, that Jesse was gonna he was gonna lose it. The spark was not gonna maintain. Just
Right.
because yes, he looked at her and was like, "Holy shit, you're hot." She was into him and he was like, "Oh my god, this is the best." He was so excited that she was into him, but she was so into him that I'm like, "There's just no way this is going to be maintained because he's just gonna like it's like it's not fun anymore for him. There's like no effort." She was basically just like, "I want you and I only want you to want me and we're a week into the summer and we need to be exclusive." And he was like, okay." And you could just see it's like already wearing on him.
I've seen really funny, like, comments just being like, you could hear Jesse's boner deflate when she said that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
really funny.
Um, yeah, he's definitely like, "Oh, what did I get myself into?" And the fact that it was really funny when they were in the car and he was like, "I'm kinda, like, concerned that, like, Lexi's, like, a jealous girl." And then Paige is like, "What gave you that impression?" And he was like, "She told me she's jealous." And she's like, "Oh, okay." Um, I mean, I think it's good to be self-aware, but
Totally.
I think they're, like, sad that now Jesse's not gonna be able to, like, comment on all their pictures and be like, "You look fire, like, you're so hot."
Sad. I think they're just like, that's you. Like, what do you mean
Right.
you're just not gonna be like funny and charming and flirty? Like that
That's
is
your personality.
right. Like
Yeah.
that's something that Jesse's partner should find extremely attractive about him, that he's just always like making girls smile, like he's adorable. He's but like know in your heart that like he's only into you, and like his personality is just like being adorable and funny, but to have a girlfriend or a partner who like won't let that side of him show is obviously just not going to be a fit for him. He's a flirtatious guy, and it's just like
It
that's what's
just
part of his charm.
it speaks to the fact that she's 26 and she's, like, more insecure
Yes.
probably, and, like, I think someone older or a little more secure at that point would be like, I get that, like, he's just kinda flirty with everyone, but I know that, like, he doesn't mean it, like, he's just having fun and, like, he
Right.
is, like, faithful to me."
And that's why I love him because
Right.
he right. And I mean, I actually had a similar thought that I actually also think that she's too intimidated by him because he's older.
Mhm.
And she's so afraid of him not liking her that she's, like, afraid to bring any real substance to the relationship. Like, I feel like she's just, like, kind of, like, plays the role. She's almost like manic pixie dream girl, like, adjacent, where she's just like,
Mhm.
"Hee hee hee," like,
Right.
"Another day of me not knowing how to do anything, like, unfold the chair," or, like, I don't know if you saw on the beach. Um, and then she also with the hot tub, she's like, "How long do you think it's gonna take?" Like, I mean, that's a question I would ask, but, uh I just think she's just, like, there to, like, kind of, like, boost his ego and be, like, silly. Even when he was when they first met, he made a funny comment about her last name, like, "Oh, like, Lexi Wood," and she's like, "Oh my god, I've never heard that." And then in the confessional, she was just like, "Of course I've heard that." Like, I actually think she's really cool, and in the confessional, there's, like, so much substance to her, but it's just so obvious it comes across that she's, like it's almost like she's the freshman, he's the senior, and she's,
Mhm.
like, too afraid to bring anything real, um, and because of that, they can't really form a bond, and he's just bored because she's not, like, bringing anything. That's my take,
Right,
that's my
she's not
read.
showing, like, her full, like,
Yes.
personality because she just wants to be fun and like the cool girl
Right.
era.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
so obvious, and, like, he is way too interesting for that, and I just don't think it's gonna, like, last.
I just think he's gonna end up with a nice Jewish girl,
I
you
mean,
know?
yeah. I think at the beginning he definitely was like, "I'm gonna marry her, I'm obsessed with her." And then the more that he got to know her, he was just like, I don't think he thinks it's for him. But I still think that if Paige wanted to get with him, he would. I mean, she doesn't.
100%.
But I think that's the kind of person he wants to be with, someone who's like fiery,
Mhm.
because he's such a big personality, and I feel like he would want someone like I don't think
Could go
Lexi
toe
is
to
like
toe with him.
right. And I think Lexi has it in her, but not with him. Like she's too intimidated.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good read. I also thought it was interesting how they went clubbing with her family and how she's like, "I don't think I've ever partied without my mom or sister."
No, it's weird.
No, it's really weird. I don't like the trope of, like, a family that, like, parties together.
It's one thing if it happens once and like, but the way that she's like normalizes it, and it's like, and I feel like she thinks it's something that makes her like cool. It's just like, mm,
Yeah, she's just like, every club owner, like, they know my parents, like
right.
it's like anyone that has dated me has met my parents in some capacity because 'cause they're always out with me. Like, I think that's very strange, and I think that there needs to be a separation, and there's, like, a reason why people shouldn't party with their parents.
And like, even if you do, to bring that into the relationship 2 weeks in is a lot.
Yeah, I think it's great that she's close with her family, and I think I'm more and you probably agree, more traditional where it's like your parents aren't your friends. And,
Totally.
like, they can be, like, to a certain extent they are, but, like, it's just, like, a weird boundary to cross.
And it's a weird thing, the fact that you bring it in so early in the relationship. Like, it's just like a bizarre dynamic.
I just wanna say, like, at the dinner when they were talking about the investment and it was, like, 25,000 and Wes was like, "I cannot afford that."
Yeah.
Like, I saw the funniest TikTok of someone, like, imitating West and just being like, "I cannot afford that," and then just being like, "Hey, guys, remember when I said I cannot afford that?"
I
And then him, like, talking to someone and being like and then I was like, "I cannot afford that." Like, just him
wait.
thinking that he was, like, hysterical and so funny. I'm like, "That was such a good read on that situation," and then I went up to and then he was like, "Hey, Sierra, remember when I said I can't afford that?" Like, he really
Wait.
just, like, thinks that he's so funny.
I am so happy you brought that up because that wasn't funny at all.
It really
And
wasn't.
I don't understand why that was like why the producers even, like, kept it in, obviously because of what just happened and, like, what happened after and how Sierra was like, "That was so funny." And then and then
So lame.
after he was like, "Did you hear how Sierra thought that that was funny?" So I'm really happy because I was like, maybe I'm the only one who just, like, really didn't think that was funny. So I'm really happy you said that not only you, but, like, the entire internet was like, "What was that?"
Like, just
Bizarre.
like yeah, just such low-hanging fruit, like, such, like, unoriginal comedy, like, and he's just
Yeah.
like, "Yeah,
Yes.
that
That's
was
such a
I'm so funny."
that's exactly correct. Or
Okay, so jumping into White Lotus, I feel like I wanna start with the rat lifts because there's so much to unpack there. Um, I first of all, I have so much anxiety with what the dad is going through. It's
Mhm.
like my least favorite trope in a television show when someone is in trouble with the law and they're like about to go to jail. Like, I just feel so uneasy. But also, my absolute least favorite thing is when on a show or a movie, when someone like does something illegal accidentally and they don't go right to the police right away and they try to cover it up. And then the cover up becomes way worse than the crime
Right.
itself. And I'm
Did you
just like,
watch Search Party?
I did, but I had to stop watching it because it was actually giving me full-blown panic attacks. That show was so bad for me. I was also watching it during peak COVID, and I honestly believe it's the reason I'm on SSRIs now.
It was, like, my favorite. I literally rewatched it the first month that I was just, like, home with Olive. Um, I am li that's, like, my favorite show. I actually rewatched it the first month I was home on maternity leave, just because I loved it so much, so I'm just deceased that you went on anxiety medication because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously joking, there's a
No,
million other
of
reasons why,
course.
but, like, that show made me so unwell. I was like
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, you don't think of it as, like, an anxiety-inducing
Of
show.
course it is. Of course. First of all, I just love John Early. Like, I mean, the characters in that show,
No, they're
no,
very funny.
you know I love dark shows.
Yes, it is
I
very
thought it
dark.
I thought it was a brilliant show. I just love it. But of course, I don't think it's like a happy-go-lucky show. It's absolutely anxiety inducing, especially that first season because it's it gets crazier and crazier. So once it gets crazier in seasons 2, 3, 4, 5, you kind of like it doesn't matter as much their decisions, but season 1, they're so normal.
Right,
And then
exactly.
takes such a turn. So I could so see it being like really a lot to handle.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm just like, "Just go to the police and, like,
But
get a lawyer, like, just follow the normal channels so that you
But
don't end up in jail."
okay, but it's weird that you say that about this because yes, I about White Lotus, yes, I agree that the anxiety is absolutely palpable. Like you're like, "Oh my god, why can't he just fix this?" But it's so different from Search Party because it really was an accident. Spoiler alert, there was a murder and it was an accident and they could have gone to the police. This whether it was an accident or not, it
No,
was
he
very
deserves to go to jail. Like, I just
not
more
even
so am like,
deserve, but there's nothing he can do at this point. He engaged in illegal activity. It was some sort of money laundering that there's clearly evidence that he knew about it. So going to the police really wouldn't help him. Like he's just screwed, period. It's not like, oh, there's a chance for him to make it
no.
right now.
No, 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 totally. I think it's more so just him, like, not facing the music and, like,
Yes.
ignoring everything. It's like
Yes.
it's very it's just making me really anxious,
Yeah.
but, um and clearly it's making Parker Posey anxious because she finally gets him to take her drugs.
Yeah. What do you think about like how he's seemingly like kind of all an addict all of a sudden?
I know, it was weird. He was like, "No, that's your thing, not my thing." And now, like, he had 1 pill, and then all of a sudden he's, like, kind of, what's the word? Relapsing or something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good word, relapsing, because maybe the reason he was like, "That's your thing, not my thing," is because he knew that he's prone to
Mhm.
addiction. So once he started, and especially in this dark place that he's in, he was very susceptible to relapsing. Um, because I just
Yeah.
didn't find it believable to be like, "Oh, I don't do that," and then all of a sudden having 1 pill and now being an addict. But to your point, maybe that's why he didn't wanna have the 1 pill.
Yeah, exactly, and I think they even foreshadowed in future episodes him, like, really abusing.
Well, right, that's why I'm saying
Yeah,
that, because there was the
yeah,
foreshadowing of him, like, not being addicted, literally not being able to stop.
right, yeah, so I think there we'll maybe get more, like, backstory on that. And then just thinking about like the mom, what's her name again? I want to call her Parker Posey, but I keep forgetting like
I
what
don't
her character.
remember.
Okay, we're just gonna call her Parker Posey. I I kind of feel like she is like more evil than the dad because there was just something she said where she was like, I feel like I have to talk in her accent. She's like, "Oh, you remember my brother used to pin me down
Yeah,
and like tried to spit on my face and like he would beat me up, but now we're the best of friends." Like, I feel like she had a really dark childhood where something really twisted happened to her, and it's why she like can't live in reality and why she like self-medicates. Um,
that's a really interesting read. I love it. I didn't get that, but I really appreciate it. And I think that's what's so good about White Lotus is you could just go so many different directions with all these characters.
Yeah, I just felt like it was so, like, offhand, like, why she would mention this. Like, I feel like everything is so intentional with the dialogue. There's, like, something more happening with her. This also makes me think about, in classic White Lotus fashion, that nothing is as it seems. So I think that right now, Saxon being so loud with how politically incorrect he is and, like, how disgusting and toxic he is, like, a red herring for, like, Lockie actually being the one that's, like, way more twisted and sinister.
Okay, well, what I believe they're getting at with Loki, and I think what the internet believes is that he's gay.
Okay, I could see that. So
So
he's just, like
not
okay, so
quite twisted and sinister, but maybe.
okay, yeah, that's an interesting point. So I didn't have that read. I thought it was, like I think I'm still stuck on the fact that he checked out his brother's butt in episode 1, and then in episode 2, he made his sister so uncomfortable when he was like, uh, Saxon said, like, "You're a virgin, but that doesn't make sense because 'cause you're so hot."
Right.
And then he was like, "So are you?" And then she
Right.
was so up uncomfortable that she swam away from him.
Yeah, she was like, "Why are my brothers actual, like,
Creeps.
weirdos?" Yeah.
I think that Lockie is creepy, but the fact that he's, like, more covert about it, I feel really uneasy about him.
Like, I think it's clear whether he's, like, sinister or just gay.
I hope it's the latter.
Either way, he's hiding something. So you're picking up on that. Like, there's something going on, and I think at least, like, some of the gay personalities I follow, like Evan Ross Katz, like,
Mhm.
they've alluded to the fact that, like, he's literally just gay. Like, I think there was, like, one meme, it was like, oh, something about the posture, like, "Fix your posture." It's like, or just tell us you're gay. I don't remember, but we can
That
work
could
on
be
that.
yeah, and the fact that the guy was like who was coaching him on his posture was like, "You lead with your feminine side," or something, and then he got
Mm,
really uncomfortable and he was like,
right.
"How long is this session?" Like, he wanted to leave.
Exactly.
So, that now I'm thinking about that, it makes sense, maybe he is, like, closeted.
Right. Or he just doesn't know, like, what's going on, and is obviously, like, lives in a his family's very, like, picture perfect, and I don't know, I know it's, like, based on Southern Charm families. I don't watch Southern
Yeah.
Charm, but I guess it would be, yeah, it would make sense that he'd be uncomfortable coming out.
Yeah, for sure. I also was really shocked and confused when Piper went to, like, the monastery to, like,
But
meet the
yeah,
monks, and the monk was on a laptop. I was like, "Wait, monks can use technology? Are there, like, different tiers of monks?"
there must be. I wonder if, like, did Piper seem confused? Because I wonder if they were trying to show that, like, people from the West, like Western countries, are just, like, very ignorant when it comes to other cultures. And it's like, oh, he's a monk. Like, why is he on a computer? And maybe she thinks she's going to get this, like, eat, pray, love experience. But really, she's just, like, another, like, Western college student. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
But that was, I thought,
Even
maybe
his
something.
attitude towards her was very like, "Oh, great, another little white girl
Exactly.
coming in here thinking, like, she's gonna change her life and, like, become a monk." Um, because like, she was like, "I was been talking to whoever the monk was," and he was like, "Well, he's not here today, like, he has a schedule." Like, she thought she could just, like, walk in and, like, have a meeting with him,
Right.
just very entitled, very, like,
Yes.
American.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
Another thing about what I thought was interesting when Parker Posey was like had that dream and it was like, "This is what it looks like before a tsunami." Very,
Mm,
very much foreshadowing White Lotus in general, how we're just, like, building up the tension that, like, right now everything seems okay on the surface, but, like, there's so much brewing
totally.
beneath. Also, I've had that exact nightmare before. So scary.
That is scary.
Um,
Let's
so
go
move
into
Rick
yeah.
and Chelsea.
Yeah, let's go into Rick and Chelsea.
I, like, love them. I, like, really wasn't into them in the first episode. I didn't understand if they were, like, really a couple or, like, what their deal was, but I just think that she really brings out this tender side of him. I think they're, like, really sweet together.
I, like, know what you mean, but I think they're extremely toxic.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I see that. I mean, he's definitely, like, pretty, like, abusive at times.
I don't know if Mike White is going to address that in the like, I don't know if we're just meant to believe that, yes, they're toxic, but, like, to your point, like, they just love each other, so it's okay. But I feel like that's, like, a very, like, immature take. Like, I wonder if Mike White, the way their relationship's gonna play out is their, like, passionate love or, like, her need to fix him is not gonna be enough to overcome the toxic dynamic, or if we're just gonna be, like, led to believe that, like, their passionate love, like, is enough to overcome the toxicity, and, like, of course it's gonna work. In my mind, like, there's no way. Like,
Right, or,
it's
like,
not
she could
realistic.
change him.
Right, it's not realistic. But,
But I just think that there is this side to him that, like, wants to heal and is kind, and he's opening up more with that woman in, like, therapy.
right.
He got high and he, like, wanted to free the snakes. He was like, "Just because they're evil doesn't mean they deserve to be captured."
This is
I
what
think
not every,
he's
like, hot bad boy. Of course he has, like, a sweet side and, like, he isn't all bad and he had a rough childhood and, like, I'm just telling you, Rekka, you're making excuses. He's a walking red flag. They should not be together.
okay, fine. Maybe you're right. Maybe I just don't wanna see it. But do you know the internet is, like, losing their mind for him? They
I
think
know.
that he's so hot.
He is so hot because of everything I just said. He is, like, again, the walking red flag. He's a bad boy, but he's sweet and sensitive, and if he could just, oh, fuck, what is
You just open up.
right, or, like, I'm trying to reference the Taylor Swift song.
Which one?
Like, "I can fix him, no, really, I
Oh,
can."
yes.
What is it called?
They shake their heads saying,
Saying,
"God
"God help
help
her,
her when I
nah,
tell him he's
he's
my
my
man."
man, but your good Lord doesn't need to lift a finger.
Finger, I
I
can
can
fix
fix
him.
him. No,
No, really,
really, I
I can.
can."
Okay, good point.
Yep.
I'm being swept away by another hot rodent boyfriend.
She she's damseling.
I'm damseling. Um, and
Moving
then
on.
oh, wait, one more thing. I really like her friendship with Chloe,
It's a
but
little dark,
yeah, they're bonding over how their boyfriends, like, treat them like shit.
right, mhm.
But I am a little worried for Saxon now that he's flirting with Chloe
Oh
because
my god.
Greg is not gonna stand for this.
Right.
He's gonna get himself into trouble, and on that note, I'm very worried for my girl Belinda now that she put herself on Greg's radar.
No, girl.
I
Mm-mm.
was like, "Girl, run.
I was
Get
like,
out of there."
"Oh my god," but I just Mike White bringing Belinda back this season is so good, and having her kind of, like, close the loop on, "Oh, I'm so happy I'm here in Thailand, like, I've been really depressed. I had this, like, weird experience with this crazy lady, this rich lady who said she was gonna help me start my own thing, and then she, like, ran off." Like, it's just the pieces are all coming together. It's
Yes.
just so good. I'm
He's
so
really
excited.
threading the needle so
Yes.
beautifully. It's really great. Okay, and then lastly, we should talk about the trio of ladies. I love them. In the second episode, we saw them talking shit about Jacqueline and how she's so vain and, like, into her looks, and I kinda like that Lori humbled her when Jacqueline was like, "The trainer said that I have, like, the least body fat,"
Oh my
and
god.
she was like, "Yeah, he said that to me too. I think
Yeah.
he said that to everyone." And she was like, you could see that definitely hurt her ego, and
Yes.
she's talking about how she's married to a man that's 10 years younger, and they, like,
She's like, "We're
don't really
addicted
see.
to each other." It's like, "Sweetie, welcome to marriage." Like, that's not gonna last.
Yeah, like, yikes. Writing's on the wall with that one,
Mhm.
and then we see it they complete the triangle where they're talking about Leslie Bibb's character, I think her name is Kate, and how, like, how weird it was that she, like, voted for Trump and she does everything that her husband tells her, and she's, like, in this weird conservative town. I really liked seeing Lori and Jacqueline's dynamic because I feel like I couldn't understand like why they were friends, but I think this episode really showed how they have a friendly, competitive dynamic with one another,
Yes.
whether it's like chasing after a guy or like working out.
Yeah,
And I'm sure that like crosses a line and gets contentious at times, but I do think that they have fun, like kind of going at it with each other.
totally. I was confused because was Leslie Bibb's character the only one to overhear the gossip?
I think so.
It
So
seemed that way.
I think that in the first episode when Lori goes back to her room and sees them talking and starts crying, it's like because she knows they're talking shit about her.
Mm. But
So,
Jacqueline in the second episode, they cut to her
mhm.
when the other two were gossiping about her, but it wasn't clear that she heard anything.
Right. I think there's just like an undercurrent, like they know if one of them leaves the room,
Mm,
they're gonna get shit talked. I think they
totally.
just kind of like all accept that.
Totally.
And I'm excited for when it like comes to a head because you know someone's gonna slip and say something and it's gonna start a really big fight.
Yes. I'm very excited for tonight's episode.
And then one last thing I want to say is the security guard character who loves Mook,
I love him.
I know he's so sweet.
He's
Did you know, by the way, that Mook is played by like a huge K-pop star
Yeah,
named
Lisa.
Lisa? I
Yeah.
had no idea. Oh my God, I had no idea. She's like major.
No, she's major. And like Mike White initially didn't want to cast her because he's like, I don't think the show needs that kind of publicity. Like it has its own and like we don't want her taking from it. And he said that when she auditioned, he was like, okay, she's really good. If she wants to be in it, she can be in it.
That's amazing. Good
Yeah.
for her. I mean,
Yep.
clearly very talented.
Hmm.
Um, and she's also dating a billionaire or a billionaire. Her boyfriend is like heir to the LVMH fortune. I believe his name is Frederick Arnault.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
did not realize that.
She's just living the life on a hit TV show, a pop star
Totally.
dating a billionaire. Like, girl, tell us how you do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I think that so when her boyfriend was like working the gate, did you notice that the trainer that works with the trio of ladies, like he pulled up on his motorcycle and was talking to the security guard, and then that's when the van drove past and they robbed the
Yes.
store?
So I noticed it was the like masseuse guy, but it
Mhm.
didn't connect. Like I just thought that that was what they used to distract the security guard. I didn't know that that was like I didn't tie it that he would be a part of it. Like I didn't tie that together. Ariel is the one that's like, "Oh my god, he's definitely in on it." And I'm like, "That's such a good point."
That's what I said too to Zach. I was like, "Oh, this was definitely coordinated." He's like,
Yes.
yeah, he knew that like if he rolled up, it would distract the guy. So we'll see what he's up to, and I wonder if he's gonna hook up with Lori.
Oh my god, I hope so.
I know, and I think it's gonna send Jacqueline over the edge because or maybe Jacqueline's gonna hook up with him because she's, like, unhappy in her marriage, and Lori's gonna be like, "What the fuck? Like, you kept telling me I should hook up with him."
That's a really good point.
Something's gonna happen there.
Any updates on who we think the shooter is?
No, I really don't know. Maybe it's, like maybe it's the owner's assistant who doesn't get to sing karaoke every night at the bar.
I What a great character. What a great casting for that man.
He reminds me of Jonah Hill's character in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, who's, like, always trying to give his mixtape to Aldous Snow.
Oh my god, that's a really good take. I love that.
Yeah, I that's just, like he has the same energy as him.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, we've been podcasting for 2 hours. This is crazy. We had so much to talk about.
Yes, we did. Okay, this was amazing. I'm very excited for White Lotus tonight.
I'm
Rebecca, I love
so
you.
I love you too. Thank you all for listening to another
Yeah.
episode of Middle Part. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Please like, review, and subscribe. XOXO.